So I thought it would be just great to talk about the spiritual practice of peace on a, summer morning, peaceful summer morning. And then of course I thought about, well, what does peace mean? And I realized, how can you possibly cover the topic of peace in a short talk? You can't. It's such a big word. Let's just call it a big word. And so it just has so many meanings, from inner peace to world peace. I actually went and looked in the dictionary to say, what do they say peace is? I was surprised. Most of the definitions were all about what peace is not. Peace is not war. Peace is not struggle. Peace is not hostility. It's an absence of conflict. And that's not that helpful when what we want to talk about is embracing peace. We need to know what peace is. So in the dictionary it says, well, it's a state of security. That was surprising, but I guess in the world context it is a state of security, a state of justice and goodness. But more to what I was thinking, it also said peace is a state of serenity or tranquility or calm. So I was looking for more ideas about peace, and I actually came across a newsletter from this center that was back from when Dr. Maddie and Reverend Debbie O'Donnell were running the center, and they did that for many years as co-pastors. And at that time, they were just introducing, this newsletter was, they were just introducing the candle lighting ceremony that was based on really recognizing peace by using each candle to recognize a different religion of the world, to show how it's all about the same one thing, spirit. That's all there is. And of course, interestingly, after the pandemic and we came back together, we changed it so that we're now recognizing what we call the different aspects of spirit. And I think in this talk today, I'm going to talk more about that state of inner peace. I feel like over the past few years, a lot of us have gotten quite disconnected from each other, there's more of a feeling of separation. But anyway, in that newsletter that I found, Reverend Debbie wrote about reading an interview with Thich Nhat Hanh, in which he shared that peace has to begin with oneself, and the choices that we each make, that the act of choosing nonviolence and compassion is actually the whole foundation of a peace movement. And I love the way he put it. I think it's really true that as we become more peaceful, our world becomes more peaceful. So then, what's the next question? Of course, how do we become more peaceful? How can we make peace actually an individual spiritual practice? Well, in the Science of Mind, which is the most complete book by Ernest Holmes that explains what we teach. Is there some other microphone on? Is your microphone on? Oh, am I too close? Maybe Jim can turn my volume down a little bit. In the book, The Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes, peace is defined as a state of inner calm. An inner calm that is so complete that nothing can disturb it. The peace which comes only from the knowledge that this peace is all. A fathomless or bottomless peace is what is meant by peace of the spirit. This is the peace, he says, that Jesus was referring to when he said, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you." It says the infinite is always at peace because there's nothing to disturb it. A realization of our oneness with that infinite brings us peace. The peace which is accompanied by a consciousness of power. So when I read that, wait, the peace that is accompanied by a consciousness of power? What's he talking about? Well, he's not talking about personal power. He's not talking about any power that you can think of in an ordinary sense. What he's referring to is when we have an awareness of the creative power of the universe, and to that inner calm that we will sense when we realize that the creative power of the universe is actually responsive to our thoughts, so that when we reach a state of feeling peaceful, actually the universe responds personally to us. So our metaphysical definition of peace is that it refers to our state of mind when we realize our oneness with the undivided wholeness of life. That's when we really do experience a truly peaceful state of mind. So that's kind of a description, but I think you'd agree with me that, a peace is kind of like happiness. When you experience it, you know it. You feel it. And you know, oh yeah, that is peace. We recognize it automatically when we're experiencing it because it's a natural something. It belongs to us. And yet, sometimes it feels like that peaceful state is missing, that it's elusive and hard to find. So how can we find our peace when it feels like it's missing? When we're feeling confusion or fear or even panic, right? How can we move back into a state of peacefulness? Well, there are actually steps you can take to feel more at peace and to calm your mind. Obviously, I'm sure you know that I'm going to suggest meditation, right? Whether it means sitting in the silence or listening to relaxing music or going for a walk in nature or just maybe losing yourself in a peaceful activity like drawing or journaling or any kind of pleasant craft or activity. Just allowing yourself to enter that state of flow. But you can also, no matter where you are or what you're doing, you can also feel peaceful just in a quick minute. So let's do this together now. I'm going to just invite you to relax your shoulders. Just relax your shoulders. Straighten your head. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to breathe in, hold it, and exhale. So first, let the air out. Exhale. Then slowly take a breath in, hold it, and then exhale. Let's do it again. Slowly breathe in and hold it, and then exhale all the way. Again, just slowly breathe in, hold it just a second, and then exhale. Now when you do that, especially after you exhale, don't you feel more relaxed and calm? You can do this anytime, anywhere, and you can enhance the experience while you're doing it by silently saying to yourself, I am calm, I am at peace. You can just inhale, I am calm. Exhale, I am at peace. I am calm. I am at peace. It's not a coincidence that so many meditation teachers suggest that you begin by noticing your breathing, counting breaths, or just relaxing your breath. It really works. So that's another way. How else can you feel more at peace? Well, visualization works well for me. So if I just close my eyes for a minute or two and imagine that I'm standing by the cliff overlooking the beach here and just looking out over the ocean, I can picture that so clearly in my mind. And just thinking about that view of looking out over the ocean instantly brings a more relaxed state of mind, a more peaceful state of mind. And of course, if you have more than just a minute, if you've got an hour or half an hour, or if you're really feeling upset about something, if you really have an unpeaceful state of mind, the thing to do is to actually do that. Go to the beach, enjoy the view, go outside, sit under a tree, even sit, in a chair on a patio, and just relax. This activity can restore you back into a more peaceful state of mind. Don't allow your unwanted thoughts to keep you from being mindful and aware of the things and the people and the feelings that actually do make you feel happy and peaceful. We always say we're at choice. We are at choice. And you can even use memories, kind of like an invisible photo album, to help you regain a sense of calm. And I have to say here, because I, in the past, used to be a very backward-looking person, you need to guard against dwelling on, sad memories of the past. We need to choose what we're dwelling on, choose what we're thinking about, choose what we're getting absorbed in. That's one reason why it's so nice to just think about nature, because it is so obviously perfect, right on the face of it. So, I guess the type of memories, if you're using that type of visualization, I'd recommend would be something like seeing something beautiful for the first time. Whether it's a new baby, or whether it's going to the Grand Canyon, or maybe the first time you saw snow. All of these can just kind of bring that sense of awe. That's so helpful. So for me, I often use the same memory that it meant a lot to me when I saw it, because I had grown up here in Southern California, which I love, but I went to school in the Midwest. And so I remember my first experience of greeting the morning in a meadow. It's kind of damp and there's dew and it was a little cloudy and the birds were singing, and then suddenly the light broke through the clouds. It was very beautiful. That's a memory that I keep that. It's kind of like a wallet picture, but it's a brain picture, and I can go to it whenever I want. So what memories do you have that can actually bring an instant sense of peace to you? These memories belong to you, and you can use them, you can carry them around with you, and take a look at them whenever you want. These memories remind us that we were peaceful once, and so we can be at peace again. This state of mind, the peaceful state of mind, is really our natural state. So, make a collection of these quick visualizations that you can go to. These are really easy spiritual practices that you can do in a moment. Now, there was a New Thought leader and author and speaker. His name was Neville Goddard. And as far as I know, he wasn't directly connected with Ernest Holmes. But he was very interesting. He was born in Barbados in 1905. He immigrated to the United States. He worked in vaudeville, so I thought that was interesting, a vaudeville performer. And somehow he ended up studying with an Ethiopian rabbi who had also immigrated to the United States. And finally he became quite a well-known lecturer and teacher on New Thought subjects in metaphysics. Now he particularly emphasized how to use our imaginations to create our everyday experiences. So we teach visualization. You should picture yourself as happy or picture yourself having abundance. He was very specific. He, for instance, he would say, picture yourself, and I'm not saying he did, but something like he would say, if you wanted to have more prosperity, picture yourself looking at your bank statement and seeing how much it showed on your bank statement, something super specific. So that's kind of how he talked about using our imaginations, very, very specifically. So in one of his talks I read called I Am the Lord, he talks about a parable of Jesus, and I wanted to share it, but I just want to clarify that when he talks about Christ, he is talking about what we here refer to as Christ consciousness. So here we go. He said, in the book of Luke, in the Bible, it tells the parable of Jesus who, upon entering a boat with his disciples, falls asleep as they set sail. Then, when a big storm descended upon the lake, the disciples woke him up, saying, Master, we're perishing. And then Jesus rebuked the wind, and the raging waves became quiet. And there was a great calm. I tell you, this is Goddard speaking, the one who fell asleep caused the storm and is the same being, the same person, the same being who, upon awakening, quells it, quiets it, for there is no other. There is only one. Neville explained it saying that in this world, in our day-to-day lives, it's as if Christ, the Christ consciousness, is asleep, and that the horrors, the confusions, the depressions, and the horrors appear because of, he says his, or because of the dreams. And he says the world will know no peace, happiness, wealth, or joy until Christ awakes. He says, if you are unaware of your imagination, what's going on, then you are asleep relative to it. It doesn't matter whether you're dreaming wonderful dreams or nightmare dreams. You're not in control. You're not awake. So he is saying what we need to do is to awaken and to, in his case, he's saying awaken the Christ within and choose our thoughts. Choose what it is we're visualizing actively. He says, when the Christ awakens, we will know calm and well-being. Your own imagination is this Christ consciousness. And then he says, I think this is important, although it's a little tricky. He says, you are Christ's outer projection. So what you're experiencing is this outer projection of this self, this I am, this Christ consciousness. And you're surrounded by woes or happiness, just kind of unconsciously. But he says, God as your imagination can never be so far away from you as to even be near. Because if you say God is near me, you're saying God is separate from me. That's not the case. Wherever you are, God is, I am. You and God are one, for he is your wonderful human imagination. Now, Holmes, who I think is a little clearer, but he didn't have the nice story about the boat and the storm. So, but I think Ernest Holmes has something really similar. He said, God is always God. No matter what our emotional storm or what our everyday situation may be, there is always something hidden in our inner being that has never been violated, is always perfect. We may stumble, but always there is that eternal voice forever whispering within our ear, that thing which causes the eternal quest, our life, that thing which forever sings and sings. This is the thing itself. So Goddard says, you and God are one, for God is your wonderful imagination. And Ernest Holmes says, the mind which we discover within us is the mind which governs everything. This is the thing itself. And we should recognize its simplicity. Two different ways of explaining the same basic idea, that it's true. Our thoughts create our experiences. Our thoughts create our lives. And we must wake up to this and realize that we are the power, and we should not make the mistake of giving our power away to outer conditions. So this is how we find peace. We choose peace. Peace is a spiritual practice. It is the practice of constantly waking up from our old habits of thinking that the things we experience in the outer world are causing our thoughts and reactions. And waking up to the things really are, and starting to recognize it is the other way around. It is our thoughts that cause our experiences and interactions. So I say it's our thoughts. So whether they're conscious thoughts that we choose, or whether they're unconscious thoughts that are just a little bit random or habitual or something that we pick up from what's going on around us, what Goddard would call dreaming. It's still our thoughts, and we can control our thoughts. Now, I have to say, some people really don't like this idea. When they hear a new thought teacher say, oh, it's our state of consciousness that causes our experiences, it feels like too much responsibility. And their first reaction is often to start blaming ourselves for whatever is happening. Well, two things. First of all, we're not alone, right? We are in this together. But the other thing is, do you blame yourself for your dreams? Would you blame a child because they had a nightmare? No, it's unconscious. What we need to do is simply wake up, not blame ourselves. It's never about blame. It's always about striving to wake up and realize that we are able to make conscious choices. And of course, when we don't, we will live by the results of our unconscious choices. And even then, as we respond to things going on around us, we are at choice once again, and how we react to that. You know, as far as I can see, the one thing, well, not the one thing, one of the things we all have in common is that we all have our own issues, and they keep coming up, and we're constantly dealing with them, and some of them can really be disturbing now or in the past. I know, it could be poverty, illness, violence, loss, even war. And I think it's important for us to recognize that this stuff goes on. And although I am personally a great fond of taking the Pollyanna playing the Pollyanna glad game and always trying to see the silver lining, the bright side of things, I don't think we should be blind or foolish. The story of the boat is that Jesus woke up and saw the storm, and then the storm was calm. So staying calm, having a peaceful state of mind, doesn't mean that you're going to be like a doormat. It doesn't mean that you're going to just submit to what's happening or say la vie, it doesn't matter. We want to wake up and calm these storms and have a life that is peaceful, a life that we choose. Ernest Holmes said there's nothing in the universal order that denies an individual's good. Nothing denies our right to self-expression, so long as such self-expression doesn't hurt anyone else, contradict the general good. He says the universe remains unlimited, no matter what's going on in our everyday world. There is still, behind it all, unlimited good. We don't actually have to be, this is the hard thing, we don't have to be perfect to be perfect. We don't have to actually have enough to begin to recognize that there is enough for us. We don't have to be experiencing abundance at this very moment to understand that there is abundance for us and to begin to open up a pathway, to begin to wake up to allowing that abundance to show up in our lives. We are enough. And when we attain this state of calm, of equanimity or peacefulness, what happens is that we begin to radiate that peace wherever we go and to everyone that we know. Peace is a spiritual practice, and it does bless the world. It blesses our lives. It blesses the life of the world. And understanding this allows us to enter a calm and peaceful state of mind without any regret or any hesitation or any thoughts about how can I be peaceful when such and such is happening. No matter what is happening, we can go through it in a state of calm. And when we have that, we have clarity of mind and the ability to make decisions with loving kindness and with wisdom and with calmness. So that is what I think of when I think about using peace as a spiritual practice and really giving peace a chance. So thank you.